Well, welcome everyone to this broadcast. Today, what I want to get into is the subject of relationship OCD. And what I'd like to do is share some coaching insights that I think can be very, very helpful if you have this battleground. It can have a lot of confusion, a lot of anxiety to it, and a lot of disturbance that goes on. And what do we do with it? Well, it's my heart to be able to share with you what I wish I had when I was going through it. So, welcome to the Healing and Freedom Journey. Mark DeJesus here. I am your brother from another mother, bringing you insights along the way. I'm all about mental, emotional, relationship health, and if you are too, you have arrived at a great place. So, as I said today, what I want to get into is some coaching for you through the battleground of OCD, specifically in the area of relationship OCD. So pretend that we're sitting at a table, we're having some nice coffee or tea or whatever, and I'm taking some time to share with you and to teach you some things you're going to need to understand. So take some notes on some of the areas that stick out at you and go, okay, these are some things I need to work on. You may want to go through this a couple times to give yourself understanding of the factors that you're working through when it comes to the healing journey in this area. Because it is possible for you to work through this, to have fruitful relationship patterns, especially specifically when it comes to working towards marriage. And as I've mentioned, this can impact people that are dating or are looking to date. It can impact people that are engaged, the people that are already married. So it's important to understand that. But one of the biggest things that manifests in this is a continual swirling doubt, uncertainty, confusion, and anxiousness that goes on. And I've seen a whole spectrum on this, from some people that are like, I can see this is kind of getting in the way for me. And I got some commitment issues and stuff. And I've also seen, and I'd put myself in that category, very extreme, very intense anxiety, feeling like you can't even function because you're trying to get this issue and this subject resolved. So let me get right into it, because I know you like to get to the point, and I will do that. However, I also got to talk to you about some areas. I got to slow you down a bit and help you to understand what you're dealing with, what you're going to face. Of course, I encourage all of you, get a copy of my book, The Myth of the Perfect One. This is a manual that I want to give to you on working through relationship OCD, and especially the distortions that come along with it. So that's going to be important in your processing. The first thing I want to talk to you about and share with you is this mindset that many Christians have, and we need to do some modification of it. And it's this mindset of, I need to find the perfect one that God has for me. Or maybe it just sounds like the one. And as I've mentioned before, this statement may sound nice, it may sound impressive, but it actually is a cliche statement that has a lot of underlying distortions underneath it. And if you look biblically, because I have pastoral, ministerial experience, I teach, I believe in the Bible. I believe in having your teachings rooted in Scripture. The Bible doesn't teach this kind of mindset to follow and chase around trying to find the perfect one that He has for you. And so this mindset, what it does is it inflames a just right, but never enough kind of mentality, which, if you know my materials and you know what I teach on, is perfectionism. And right at the jump, if I'm talking to you and working with you, we got to work through this issue of perfectionism, because it erodes. It's a killer to sanity. It is a monster because it perpetuates this just right but never enough. So you're always feeling under pressure. You're always never feeling like you can land. You struggle to have peace. You have irritability. You can get depressed. You have a lot of shame over your journey. You have just a lot of lack of peace going on and a lot of combustion going on with you, because this just right mentality is never enough. It's never satisfied. It never wants to leave you at peace. So it creates a lot of nitpicky, disturbance chasing kind of patterns in your life. And I want to say that this, the one mentality, we're going to have to loosen our allegiance to this mindset, because The one mentality drives this mystical, hyper-spiritualized perspective that there is this amazing mystery person out there, this dream man or this dream woman that will satisfy every longing of your heart, and there will be no flaws and no disturbances. So it's just going to work out. And if you have things you have to work through, that's a problem. This relationship isn't just right. So we can also fall into this mindset of God is bringing a person to me, bringing the one to me. And when we place the God stamp on something, it can be problematic. And those of you that watch my materials, you know that I do a lot of pushing back on how we place God as the author of all these things that are going on in our life. And it doesn't give room to go, wait, you might be listening to some disturbance here. There's some things that are off. And I had to welcome that in my life, but I was very stubborn to my God labels. So I want to share this with you. As an OCDer, you have some stubborn streaks in you. Yes, you. And it's stubborn around your perfectionistic tendencies and your interpretations and how you relate to your thoughts and how you put that God stamp on this. Because when we go, God's just going to bring someone to me, we don't acknowledge and recognize the relational work that we need to do. We don't acknowledge the freedom that God has given us because he's giving you liberty. In the gospel of Jesus Christ, we have been given liberty, the ability to choose, the ability to decide, the ability to live and move and have our being. Perfectionists are always feeling like they are under the force of something else that is putting pressure on them, anxiety on them, and they're doubt chasing. And so we got to let go of this mindset of, someone's just going to be brought to me, and take an active posture in our relationship journey of getting to know people and allowing that process to unfold as we learn to grow and we're open to that healing and growing journey. The problem is with this, the one perfect one God asked for me, any disturbance in your emotions is equated with God trying to speak to you and get your attention. Many, many Christians live with a mindset that if they feel anxious, it's God telling them. It's God trying to lead them. He's trying to warn them. So when they don't feel completely at peace, they attribute that this is God. They feel anxious, this is God. And so furthermore, then there is this constant sense of wrongness that they're chasing or trying to figure out, and they attach God. God's telling me something, and so therefore, if I don't break up, I'm in disobedience. And then you ask and get feedback, and people are like, well, it's not, we could look at some direct disobedience kind of things, couldn't we? Like having an affair, those kind of things that, clear biblical things. But with relationship OCD, you get hung up on a lot of just rights. You get hung up on certain things that you can't let go of. And then you attach it to God. And then, therefore, if I don't do something about this, I'm in disobedience. And there's a lot of patterns where we take God and he becomes labeled as the source of our disturbing feelings, our decisions, our choices. Beware when you get into this pattern of constantly attributing God to what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're doing, and it creates this constant loop. But we have to realize a lot of times we're chasing certain emotions. We're chasing feelings. But we can fall into patterns like, you know what? God is just not giving me peace. That's a common one, a very, very common one. So I can't move forward, or I need to let go because God hasn't given me total peace. God has me in a place, I use this one too, of full surrender. And I'm learning to be fully surrendered to him. I'm giving my all to him, which that is a whole subject in itself. That is religious perfectionism that gets perpetuated constantly. And I see it in all streams of faith. I see the charismatics doing it, the Pentecostals doing it. I see the Baptists doing it. I see the non-denom doing it as well too. I see it, Catholics doing it. I see it everywhere where I've got to live fully surrendered. So I got to give up all these things. And then it trickles into this. And it creates patterns of avoidance, but we're putting the God label on it. And then we have this God story that then becomes the story you keep processing through. You keep sharing it. And the more you share it, the more it just kind of becomes ingrained. So we end up pushing off our decisions on God as though he's a puppet master dictating our steps, dictating our journey. And what we do is we relate to anxiety. And this was a very key breakthrough mindset for me because I attributed it as God leading me. I would go to make a decision, and this trickled into a lot of areas of my life, but especially here. You like someone, you start dating, and then it becomes committed, and boom, anxiety comes in, and I would attribute it to God as, oh, he's warning me. And I would actually, in realization, do this in a lot of areas. Ministry decisions, even hiring people, even anything that was committed, anything that would require a commitment. At the very last moment when I would make the decision, that debilitating anxiousness would come in. I'd attribute it to God. So what we do with this is we end up placing our sense of peace and happiness solely upon making sure you find the person that brings peace to your internal struggles. We treat, and this is a world influence. This is a worldly influence of, I got to find that person that's just right for me. They become a missing puzzle piece that just fits and everything is just right. So then your idea of love and the journey of healing involves relearning what love is and how to live in it. Love becomes formed around being with the perfect person. Be aware of seeing love as something that gets formed around just perfect compatibility. And hey, listen, of course, there's areas of like, are our values the same? And that's the dating process of learning to discover. But OCDers, they are in constant minefields. They live as though there's a mine under each step that they're going to take that's going to explode. And so then we develop a immature picture. And I'm going to use this word maturity a lot today, because our journey of healing involves maturing and getting strengthened in the power of what love is and what it looks like. Because there's a lot of immaturity in this. And people even said, Mark's got some immaturity. Taken. It hurt at first, but got it. Got a lot of learning to do. Got a lot of growing to do. Got a lot of development that needs to happen in my life. But I was willing to go through the process, to go through that journey. And a big part of it was learning what love is and learning what it is not, which is why I have so much content I've put out on that subject. So in this, what's going to happen is with this perfectionistic just right, I got to find the one, you develop a poor relationship with flaws or weaknesses. And so oftentimes what happens is you're talking to a person and they have this subject that just kind of takes center stage and it becomes the focus in view. It becomes the thing. The way the person looks, or do they read the Bible? I don't know, this area, this thing, and it gets super magnified. We believe internally that the absence of flaws is going to lead to peace, and you'll have a tendency to hyper focus on any flaw, and it becomes a massive disturbance for you. And then if you feel like you fix that one, whatever that means, another one comes up. You might, and it can happen in any area: physical flaws, emotional flaws, spiritual flaws, so to speak, of where they are in their journey. Are they spiritual enough? Are they Christian enough? You hyperanalyze and you nitpick. You can nitpick compatibility. You can hyperanalyze the person's past, and even find yourself judging them harshly according to their past or their struggles or failures or whatever you want to call it. The problem is if you're being evaluated, if anyone is being evaluated under the mindset of OCD. So if you and I are talking together and your OCD is driving you in how you're evaluating me, I will always be disqualified. You will always find something that's going to disqualify me in some form, in some way. Because there's a toxic relationship within OCD of flaws and weaknesses. We don't want them. There's a lot of shame attached to it. We don't want people seeing our weaknesses, and it disturbs us seeing the weaknesses in others. And if you have a lot of triggers dealing with the flaws of other people, it is a sign you are not allowing yourself, and you're not seeing yourself in a loving, compassionate way. And it's now being mirrored out into the world around you. I was told this early on. Mark, you have some intimacy issues. You don't really, you're not seeing your own flaws. And I would go, yeah. It's not about that. And it took time for me to go, I don't see myself through love, which is why I needed to understand the depth of learning to love myself the way that God loves me, and to really connect to that. Because in perfectionism, you're going to compulsively, you are going to ruminate over flaws, spin about them, talk about them, get reassurance from the person, get reassurance from somebody else. You may even find yourself in a counseling session going through loops over these and talking. And if the counselor's not discerning, they're not going to put the reins in. They may get caught in those loops with you and chasing those things, because that can very, very easily happen. Now, with this mindset, you can easily say when you break up or you choose not to move forward that this person was just not the one. Okay, going back to that initial distortion. We can develop a distorted destiny kind of mindset. It just wasn't meant to be, right? You see these postures that push things off on God, push things off on just fate and destiny, or meant to be or meant not to be, whatever we want that to mean. It's a form of avoidance. It's a way that we interpret these avoidance patterns that we have, where really we're uncomfortable with intimacy, committed relationship, and what love really looks like. So we're driven in this pattern where we're constantly looking outside of ourselves. Constantly looking outside. I need someone else to complete me. And this is another worldly influence. We use terms like soulmate. This was somebody I was destined to be together. I found my match. So then when people break up or they get divorced, they really latch onto that. And so it just wasn't meant to be, wasn't the right one, it wasn't the perfect match. So where do you find yourself? Again, we're sitting across the table from each other. This is a question I would ask you. Where do you find yourself? Looking for flaws, checking for flaws, seeking to try to fix flaws? How much are you in this trying to hyper analyze the rightness of your relationship? And at some point, after a lot of the swirling and churning and patterns that you go to, you're going to have to come to a conclusion and understanding the problem is not the problem. It's not so much about the person you're with. It's more about how you relate to your thoughts and how you just relate to others in general. That needs healing and needs maturity. This is bringing that up. And I had to come to the point of recognizing I need help. I need help in how I assess things, how I look at things, because I am being driven by a world of distortions. Now, there's another area I need to talk to you about. And because OCD is a doubting disorder, is this mindset of doubt, uncertainty, and fear. If you have any of that kicking up, it means something is wrong with this relationship. And once you create that equation, you start to feed this monster of distortions. The fight or flight response in your body gets hijacked. So now you have alarm systems going off where they don't need to go off, but you get warnings of danger. So you develop a poor relationship with doubt, with uncertainty, and with fear, which is a big part of your healing process. Everyone has doubts, everyone has uncertainty, and everyone has fears. We all do. Now, OCDers don't think other people have doubts, uncertainties, and fear issues, right? Now, they may not have it as intense as you do in this area, but we all have doubts. It's how we relate to them that's the problem, because then we get into trying to fix them. But in ROCD, a lot of doubts, they surround how you feel about the other person, how you feel about the relationship, or maybe even how the other person feels about you, because you can be compulsive about and getting very, very needy about how the other person is interacting with you. But the problem here is there is a zero tolerance for doubt. You're not allowed to have doubt. Any presence of doubt means something is deeply wrong. Alarm bell goes off, and now you tend to it. Anxiety kicks up, now you tend to it. confusion kicks up, you tend to it. And this is where your compulsive behavior forms. You do checking, ruminating, searching, confessing, getting reassurance. A lot of ROCD has incessive over-talking and over-analyzing the issue that springs up. So you have to be aware of this. You have to be aware of how you relate, because OCDers see doubt and uncertainty as something to solve, to resolve completely, versus I'm going to take a step forward. I see the doubt there. I'm not going to feed it. I'm going to leave it where it is. I'm not going to try to tackle it and get it all fixed and put a nice bow around it. Yep, I'm feeling this fear, but I'm stepping forward. But compulsives, we have a pattern of checking areas of doubts. We check for it there. Is it there? Do I have any doubts? You take a step and you're checking. Do I have a doubt? I do. And you start chasing it. So then we do a number of goofy things that come about in ROCD. You test your feelings. You compare your feelings to other couples. You check online for relationship advice and the red flags and you better watch out for this. And they're well-meaning, but they can also unintentionally inflame OCD issues. And you may spend a lot of time, I'll guarantee you, if you have ROCD and you've been to counseling, you've spent a lot of time dissecting your relationship, talking and breaking it down. And you think you're doing a good thing to get a sense of assurance, but you're following reassurance patterns, compulsivity patterns, because you're following disturbance. And if I talk about an area of relationship under the disturbance of OCD, it's going to lead me further into distorted perspectives. I'm not seeing this the way that I need to see it. Where we land with this in our journey of working through relationship OCD is right here. This is the heart of what you're going to need to understand. It is a broken record. It plays over and over again, and it'll use any material it can. All disturbance is interpreted as this is not the one for me. When you listen to an ROCDer, and those of you who know someone else, listen to them talk about their relationship, talk about things that are going on. When they explain their decisions or they talk about what bugs them, all roads of their distortions lead back to one place. In ROCD, all distortions, listen to me. Stop daydreaming. Listen to me. All distortions, you're out in a spin out right now. Come back. All distortions come back to, I might be with the wrong person. All of them. All of them. It's not about the way that they talk, the way that they look, their past, their history, your compatibility, this and that. Goes back to disturbing, I may be with the wrong one. So when you have experience in this area, you can actually read the mind of an ROCDer. Because they're in constant turmoil of maybe this one isn't just, it's not the right one for me. The problem is their interpreter. They interpret their anxiety, their guilt, their confusion, their depression, their numbness. Oh, I feel low. I don't feel great. It's because I'm with the wrong person. It's because their interpreter is distorted. They don't know how to work through their emotions in healthy ways. So all their anxiety gets funneled into this. All the anxiety becomes catastrophized. And then this fuels compulsive avoidance, where they just don't take a step forward in the relationship. They don't commit, or they spin in cycles of checking and trying to fix, or they avoid certain conversations. They avoid certain settings. They avoid taking certain steps in the relationship. Eventually, at some point, you're going to have to take a stand and you're going to have to fire your toxic interpreter. You're going to have to draw a line in the sand. And you're going to have to welcome a new interpretation that involves, I'm learning how to love and be loved. Yep, I got this stuff kicking up. But I'm going to have to learn a new interpreter, and my new interpreter is teaching me it's time to grow. It's time to face our fears, time to face this uncertainty, because is there uncertainty with getting married? Of course. Is there some doubts that can arise? Of course. Is there anxiousness? Of course. OCDers don't make room for it. It's like, I got it. I got to have it all out. I got to have it all fixed. So let me give you a heads up on the future. When you decide to change your toxic interpreter and what you're listening to, and you move in that new direction, you're going to get kickback. You're going to get withdrawal symptoms. And the withdrawal symptoms will sound something like this. Oh, you're lying to yourself. Oh, you're ignoring God because he's trying to tell you something. Oh, you are ignoring a very important issue. You're living in denial. You're denying your feelings. You really just don't love this person, and you're lying to yourself and moving forward anyways. That and a whole bunch more will want to kick up. And it is going to do that to get you back into your old compulsive patterns. Now, the top fear, there's many fears that rise up in this, but the top fear is marrying the wrong person. And it is highly magnified. It's catastrophized that the end of the world is imminent if you make the wrong choice. There's so much pressure around this. Now, maybe you grew up seeing bad marriages, or you looked at your own parents' marriage and you're like, I don't want that. Or maybe you see people having bad fallouts. You see divorces happening, or you see just roommate syndrome marriages. And that gets into this and gives you further real estate to build jurisdiction around this issue of, yes, this is going to be terrible. So, but let's get to the day-to-day. The fear, this is a fear of failure. That's what this is. We're going to name it, and this is what it's going to do. It's going to drive you to live in procrastination. It's going to drive procrastinating patterns where you don't take a step forward. You become afraid of further progress. It feeds non-committal patterns. It feeds avoidance because the fear of failure says, I cannot have this, so I must. It's the mindset of, I must get this fixed before I take a step. And there's underlying things that try to back this up. If this marriage doesn't work out because I married the wrong person, I made the wrong choice. Be aware of this fear, because this is a fear you're going to have to face. You're going to have to step through instead of letting it push you back. Now, there's a control factor I want to mention here that you're going to need to recognize, because you'll have these distorted thoughts. Maybe you feel like you want to step away from the person. You're like, wait a second. As soon as commitment came in, I feel like I want to get out of here. So you try to fix your thoughts by hyper-controlling them. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about that. You get aggressive with your thoughts, and you compulsively try to fix them. I'm going to think differently. And that makes things worse. What you're actually needing to do is letting go of control. Now, I'm going to get to distortions around letting go in just a second, but I want to lay out some thoughts to help you along the way. You cannot control a perfect outcome in your marriage. All marriages are going to face turbulence. Jesus said in this life, you're going to have trouble. There's battles, stuff you're going to face. We are constantly trying to prevent ourselves from feeling any pain or going through any problems. You cannot control another person. Just letting you know that and reminding you of this. So you're going to need a new relationship with your emotions, because you have a thought that rises up and you try to tackle it with aggression. I understand it. I've been there. I'm like, I want to get rid of these thoughts. I want to feel a different way. You're going to need to let a loving response start to form. That's why I talk about the gentle redirect. I have a whole video on that you can check out called about the gentle redirect, because you're going to have to learn to get out of these control factors where you're trying to control all your thoughts and trying to control people and trying to control these situations. Thoughts are going to show up. Emotions are going to show up. What you can do, though, is you can make a decision not to serve them. Now, I need to address this, because many of you are ROCDers. When you hear the subject of giving up or letting go of control, your mind, listen to me, your mind goes to, oh, I have so much disturbance. I have anxiety. I need to let go of this relationship because it's doing too much into my life. That's how you equate it. Oh, God, I just need to let go of this person and let them go. That's how I equated it. When people are like, you need to let go and relax, I attributed that. I got to let go of this person. See, it validates what I've been struggling with. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about letting go of your controlling mechanisms to try to fix and prevent any thought from showing up. That's the battle. You can't control what thoughts show up in your day. You're going to have all kinds of squirrely thoughts show up all the time. What you're learning is changing your response to those thoughts. So letting go of control is actually going to help you. And you're going to notice in your journey, you have a lot of control issues. You just don't see them right now. Don't worry about it. You'll see it down the road. But it is learning to enter into what the Bible says, entering into rest. And rest is not passive. Rest is not, I just sit and relax and everything's fine. No, rest is very active. There's a lot of trust involved. But trust is learning to step through. God, I am trusting as I step forward in this relationship that I'm going to learn and I'm going to grow and I'm not going to feed my compulsive patterns. Letting go of control involves letting go of your compulsive reaction to your obsessions. But there's a final thing I need to talk to you about, and that is these emotional wrestling matches you go through. There's a lot of emotional struggles and areas where you become driven by these emotional struggles. And I'll list some of them out here. You have constant ups and downs that drive you. So you have your ups, you have your downs, but they drive you. And within that, we're always looking to chase that high. We're chasing feelings. We're chasing that sense. I want to feel a certain way. I put here, you compulsively inspect your emotions and your emotional state. And if they're not just right, something's wrong in this relationship. In your emotions, you worry you're missing out on something better. And I talk about the ups and downs. The downs, I see this in my inbox every week in questions. The downs are interpreted with what? Where does the interpreter go? Remember what I said to you? Where does all interpretation of distortions go to? I'm with the wrong person. So if you feel depressed, it's because of that. If you feel numb, it's because of that. You don't feel the feelings that you need to feel, it's because of that. And this happens in any topic of OCD, salvation OCD. If you're down, it means you're not saved. If you have compulsive sin, and you're down and you're feeling numb, it verifies your distortion, and it's a lie, but it feels right. But you have a very dysfunctional and immature relationship with your feelings. We're not going to suppress your feelings. We're not going to just ignore them altogether, but we're not going to let them drive the journey. That's a major, major shift that needs to take place. There's some more here, though. You get irritable, and that irritability is chalked up as, just the other person is just not right. You may see love as an external force that falls on you, like the concept of falling in love. And a big transfer that you're going to need to learn is, instead of chasing a dopamine high, of learning what it means to settle in companionship. Now, dopamine and excitement and even infatuation, those kind of things, is great. Being initially drawn to somebody. But at some point, we have to learn how to make a transition into companionship, because that's where the maturity is. Stable each day, learning to grow together, learning to work on yourself while the other person's working on themselves, and you grow together. It's this transition of chasing highs to being able to settle into. It took me a while to settle in. It took me a while because I had a lot of disturbance in me, and I was chasing that feeling, the feeling that all pop songs and on the radio keep feeding. This external thing. Meanwhile, unconditional love is a struggle. You struggle to receive it from God. You struggle to process it with yourself. And I was told I didn't have a good relationship with my own flaws, but I pushed back on that. I was like, no, I don't. And I had to realize, I do. And this area of committed intimacy, it becomes terrifying. But it's actually a beautiful thing, providing that you recognize, I've got some fears to work through. So some recommendations that I want to give you. First and foremost, get a copy of the book, because what I'm sharing with you is going to go greatly with the insights that you're going to see and you're going to learn there. But I want to briefly give you some recommendations for your journey. And the first one is that the call for the healing and freedom journey, when it comes to ROCD, it's going to involve changing your relationship with fear. Instead of feeding your fears and placating to them and falling into avoidance patterns, you're going to need to learn to face your fears and walk through the anxiety and fear as you take steps together. You'll see the anxiety spike up when you do that, Do not fret. Do not add extra panic. You're heading in a direction where you're learning to face your fears. Now, another tricky one, and this can be misunderstood, it takes time for you to learn and understand it, is your doubts and your uncertainty. You're going to have to leave them in a world of being unresolved because you have a tendency to chase them and try to fix them. Now, does it mean you never talk about things in relationship? No, of course. You talk through them. You talk through things, the hard conversations, values, future. You talk about if you're the person you're dating or engaged to or whatever has a problem habit or there's things that arise, you talk through them. But what I want you to understand, this is the way I'm going to say it, learn to have conversations and grow together in a way that's not based on resolving obsessive disturbance, because you're going to get into reassurance patterns. You got to talk it out 1,000 times. You got to talk it out. And you're going to have to learn over time how to talk through issues where it's not, I got this feeling I need to feel better. So this is why I'm talking about this area with you. And you may even need some coaching and some of your maybe relational counseling that you get, providing the person understands OCD a bit. Because if they don't, they may end up chasing a lot of disturbances with you. Does that make sense? That makes sense. So if you're concerned about the person's spirituality, is that an important thing? Yes. Under OCD, it's a train wreck. You're just constantly chasing anxiety. Do you need to talk about spirituality? Yes, organically, not just like chasing it down. And so I need to feel better, because that's a feeding your fears and your doubts in a compulsive way. So that may take some time for you to understand. But you're going to need to discover your compulsions and starve them. One of the biggest ones is non-committal, having a non-committal posture, breaking up, over-talking, asking for reassurance, asking God to rescue you, with certain prayers, certain things that you do, certain patterns that you try to fix your thoughts. I'm going to make myself feel better. I'm going to make myself love better. That kind of like compulsive thing versus a gentle redirect, which says, I'm learning to love. I'm learning to love. I'm growing. I'm learning. I'm learning not to feed these fears. When you starve your compulsive behavior, you can actually start getting to work now in growing. And your journey is going to be learning what love is and how to walk in love. There's a great deal of maturity God's calling us to in the journey of learning what it looks like to receive love from Him, to be loved by Him, and to love someone else. And don't fall into the trap of, I need to go be by myself to learn how to love. That's not how it works. That's not, all learning needs to be in active, practicing in relationship. And love is fueled, and this is a big thing I bring home in my book, is empowering your ability to decide, to make a decision to love and continue to love, and not be driven by your emotional ups and downs, because that's a bad recipe. In the process of healing and freedom, we're going to grow and learn and develop emotional maturity. And it's going to take some time for you to realize, all right, I'm immature in some areas, but I had to recognize it. But I'll give you two markers that I want to encourage you, because emotional maturity develops, or I should say, emotional maturity begins, the journey of it, when we, number one, we are not driven by every wave of emotion. An emotion hits you, but it doesn't dictate you. An emotion hits you, but it doesn't dictate you. So you're no longer driven by every wave that comes your way. This is stability. The Bible even talks about this, about our stability. We're not driven by every wave of thinking that comes our way. In this process, you start to learn self-control. You start to develop a greater sense of patience. You develop, another word I think of is forbearance. The ability to hang in there with somebody because you're living from a posture, from a place of love. It's the fruit of the Spirit begins to grow and develop in our life. And what a beautiful thing that you can learn in the midst of working through ROCD. And two is you learn to lead our heart. If we can grasp the power of this, it'll help you in so many areas of your life. To lead your heart and lead your emotions. You can notice your emotion. Okay, there you are, doubt. There you are, anxiety. There you are, depression. You are, numbness. I see you. I get it. It's all right. We're going to take a step forward, though. You're not my master. I'm not serving you. Because the power of love is strengthened when we learn to decide. We become empowered by decision. You decide to love, you continue to decide to love, and you keep growing in that decision. Once someone stops deciding to love, all kinds of immature patterns can rise to the surface. So I want to encourage you in all things to learn what love looks like and act on it and continue to feed it. And it's a maturing kind of thing. That's why I spent so much time teaching on what love is. But as you're practicing this, here's another withdrawal symptom I need to just make you aware of. It's going to tell you, you know what, you're faking it because you're not totally feeling it. So you doing something loving, because you need to discover what makes people feel loved. When you're in a dating relationship, discover what makes them feel loved and be someone who helps serve that area of love. We're always looking for what we're getting or what we're getting out of it. And instead of learning to serve and grow in love, and you're not faking. Get out of this, I'm faking it. Because you'll say, oh, I'm faking it. And we'll feed that. You're practicing. And when you're practicing, you can't expect yourself to have already mastered something. You got to give yourself room to practice. And a great next step for you is to get a copy of The Myth of the Perfect One. But I wanted to lay out a framework for you of what this looks like and what we're going to need to understand and what we're going to need to walk through to take a healing and freedom journey. Was this a blessing to you? If it was, do me a favor, click that like and subscribe button, share it with somebody else who could benefit. You can also go over to markdejesus.com and you can donate to support these video broadcasts. You can also take advantage of my topics page, my books, and also the Healing and Freedom community. It's for those that want to take a deeper investment. You want access to my course material that goes deeper. I have weekly Q&As that I do where I get to do some coaching and interact with you in Zoom calls and give some feedback to questions that come up. And there's some forum interaction you can take advantage with as well. But I love being a brother from another mother, sharing insights with you along the way. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, I'll be back with more insights for your healing and freedom journey. But in the meantime, I'm out.